She's sweet, she's salty, she's smart and craves chocolate every day. Here is your host, the Greek goddess of comedy, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and you are listening to the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. I have a fabulous guest today. I am so excited. Before we begin, we always have to thank our sponsor. Who is that? Select Flex. What is that? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's an insert that you put in your shoe. Why do you need it? I'm just answering all your questions because your entire body needs it. Your knees, your back, your shins, your entire alignment. Everything starts from the foot. These are over the counter, but they're not just the over the counter that you see at the drugstore. These have a special geometric beam in the middle where you can adjust the arch to firm, extra firm, or extra firm. I'm telling you right now, if you have flat feet, if you pronate in or out, these are for you. If you stand on your feet, if you work out the way that I do, ladies, it's Uggs season. And those have no support, even though they're very comfortable. I have them in my Uggs. They are just absolutely fantastic. Go to their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com. And there is a 30-second video that shows you how it works. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount if you type in the code, family, FAMILY 25. You get 25% discount because you, my listeners, I feel are like my family, except I fight with you guys a lot less than I do.
So, I'll take 10 of those. Good Lord, they sound great.
They are fantastic.
Seriously.
So go to their website and we thank them for their support. I wrote that myself. I don't know.
You're good.
All right. I can't wait to get into this. So this young lady, I've known for it's a good 10 years. It's a good 10 years. We had a great conversation, which we'll maybe try to weave into. But so I've known her for over 10 years. We did something. I'm going to tell you what we did as soon as I can.
There's a clip on my reel from it, actually.
Mine too.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, it was funny.
We're gonna talk about it.
Very funny.
We're gonna talk about it. She is a playwright. She is an actress. She is famous in the Audible book industry. So if you listen to books on tape or a lot of things that are audio, you might hear her voice. Her regular talking voice is amazing. I love her.
Hello.
And I'm just going to bring her on. Please welcome my friend, because I consider you my friend,
Back at you.
Nordlinger.
Ooh, cool. Thank you, Ellen. That was awesome.
Sorry,
I think that's it. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, right. We have no applause. There's nothing fancy here. We don't have sound effects. I don't have a producer.
You don't need it.
Oh, God. How are you? Thank you for doing this.
I'm so glad to see you. What a joy.
I came across something on Facebook or Instagram, I don't know, something, and I was like, oh, Romy, and then I friended you and this and that. But we saw each other a few years ago at SAG, I think it was, when we were sort of signing up for the casting.
Oh yeah, it was when things were like in person at SAG.
Prior, right. Pre-COVID, right?
Pre-COVID, yes. Oh my God, yeah, I remember that. I remember.
Right. But our meeting, how we got to know each other, and we got to know each other. Romy and I did this, these skits that are, I don't know if they're online still. I have it on my reel. Romy has it on her reel. But it was Rob Bartlett, who is, a lot of people know who Rob is, a very famous comedian. He was Don Imus's sidekick on the radio for many years. He's a huge radio guy.
Great person too.
Great person. And if you're a comedy aficionado, he started out on Long Island, where he's from, with Eddie Murphy. And
oh my God, I remember his story now.
My gosh, there was one more guy. I'll look it up. There was the three of them, and they were like the three, I'm going to say three amigos, but that's not who they were. They were like the three something or other. It was somebody else that's famous, and it's escaping me right now. But yeah, they all started out together. So anyway, Rob was putting together this sort of online, TV show skit thing, because he's known for his skits. That's what he did with one of the things that he did with Imus. He does voices and impressions. Anyway, he had this idea to do the Real Housewives of Nazareth.
Yes.
Nazareth. Because especially at that time, the Real Housewives of everything started to explode. So New Jersey, New York, I mean, they probably had maybe 5 at that time, or 3 or 5 at that time. Now, I don't know, there's like 15 of them or 20, but this is like right when it was exploding, especially New Jersey and New York. Those were and Orange County, those were the real big ones. And so we all dressed up. He had the hair makeup people there. He had costumes for us. And we dressed up as wives of biblical times. Now, who were you?
Lord, I don't remember. Forgive me. I don't remember, but I just remember some of the lines, and you can see that my favorite part of it on my website, www.romynordlinger.com. There's one little part of it, but all of it was so funny. And I remember us. Oh God, the line is on the clip there were so many funny lines, but when we all turned around, like,
right,
like at the beginning, like one of those,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right.
It was
we did it like a Real Housewives opening with these black robes on. It was so insane, but I mean, fun, but insane, because we didn't really know what we were getting into when we were asked to do this. And of course, we're actresses, right? And we're like, oh, okay, fine, okay.
Like, I got this, sure. And we got to carpool, so that's where I really got to on the way up.
Yes. So they filmed in Westport, Connecticut. We live in the city, so they picked us up in the city. One time I remember driving, and then another time Rob drove, and Gary Grant drove, and a bunch of people.
You have a better memory than me. Whew.
But I remember going up there. There were long days, and Rob was so he was a great director. He really just wanted us to have fun.
That made it work. He's such a mensch. He really is.
He really is. I mean, I haven't seen him in a long time. And is the guy that owned that facility that we did it in. I happened to see, not this past summer, the summer before, I did a show up in that neck of that. Well, I said Westport. It's sort of like in the neck of the woods there, up there someplace. And I did a show, it was a little bit further up, a comedy show at like a bar, restaurant type of thing. Anyway, he came because that was a Gary Grant show. And that is now, I want to say Tony. He was Italian. Everybody was like, so I remember he came, and I was like, oh my God, I can't, and you bring back these memories. I mean, let me ask you, because I'm sorry, I'm doing all the talking. I have to ask. So you and I, we've been at this game for
a little while.
We look fantastic.
Gosh, for 75, we're doing pretty well.
So I mean, it's amazing.
I shouldn't joke. I really should.
No, but you know what? I'm going to tell you something. We were just talking about age. Romy and I were just talking about age. Okay, and I'm just going to say this. It is disgusting, appalling that in society, right, we've come so far, people have come so far, just men, women, ethnicities, races, all the right, really come far from where we were. And for some reason, a woman's age is still something that we can't get over. If she's over 40,
it's commoditized.
Over 50, 60, disgusting. Like, it's appalling. Women don't get work as they age. And I know some men like in their 50s will be like, why, you think it's easy for me? I mean, I get it. I'm not discounting that. I just think it's harder for a woman. And we've got to do like all kinds of things.
Whew, it's pretty labor fucking, excuse me.
Oh, well,
we can get that out. Okay.
Totally.
Well, there we go. Meet Romy. It's labor intensive. I will tell you, it's labor intensive. And at some point, it's like, also, who was it that said Catherine Deneuve said, there's a time in a woman's life where she has to choose between her face and her ass, right?
Right.
So I mean, so there are these like negotiations you have to do with yourself. But as Ellen and I were saying just before you came in, it kind of beats the alternative. So, hey, we're here. But it's a constant, like, I'm constantly negotiating. Like, I actually, on the other side of that, I feel better as a human being. Now I can bring myself to whatever parts I'm playing. There are some more parts for older women. I'm sort of falling between an age range in my casting, but I'm watching, like, there are more on TV parts for like real people, not as much as in England, and still everybody, the big stars in Hollywood are still all airbrushed and perfect, but there are beginning things. But the day-to-day thing, that just being human with it ain't easy.
Right.
And it's not that way for men. And so what is that? Is it the expectation? Is it because we're performers? Is it everybody? I mean, it's a good conversation. But Ellen and I certainly thought, well, we have it. And I'm judging from all these anti-aging, which I think is hysterical, anti-aging, these commercials. When you think about it, anti-aging is like, what? Would you rather not age? Would you rather be dead? So it's kind of like, what?
Some celebrity, I was just on Instagram, some celebrity has the line of products now, or was saying something about why are we calling it anti-aging? Why can't we call it like health inhibiting or something? It was something they have a line of products and they changed the name because they hate the word anti-aging. Why is it it's a part of life. We all do it. Even if you're 20 now, you're going to age. Like, it's all going to happen.
And we're lucky to.
If you're
lucky.
Right.
So there's that. So, but there's a negotiation. There's a, good Lord, what the hell, sticking to my lip gloss. I feel like, and I remember my mom saying this, she's no longer alive, but she said, I always feel like the same person when I always feel like the same, whatever, little girl or whatever. And I've heard so many people say that. I mean, maybe not certain men saying they don't feel like the same little girl, but basically I feel like we all inside feel, maybe that's what it is. Like, wait a second, everything's changing out here, but I feel exactly the same. I also think age is a state of mind. There's some people that just want to sort of lean into like an age thing, like that. This is what you do at age 50. This is what you do at age 60. And that's a stereotype also. So yeah, there's so many parameters of it. God, there was something brilliant I was going to say about it, but I can't remember. So that's how brilliant it was.
I'm loving this conversation, and it just, again, with like nothing scripted.
Yeah.
We came to it organically. So I don't do this joke. I've done it occasionally, but I had this joke in my act where I remember it's funny. I remember telling it to Rob and he laughed, but for some reason, I don't know, when I get on stage, I don't get as big a laugh, so I don't do it. But when somebody dies, the first thing somebody asks is, how old were they? And let's just say you go, oh, she was 68. And they'll go, oh my God, so young. So basically you have to be dead for someone to call you young. Even if you're 80, oh my God, too soon.
Good God, Ellen, that's freaking, you made that up?
Oh, a long time ago. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Like I said,
that is brilliant.
It doesn't
get. She's brilliant. Ellen is brilliant. Go see her act. She's brilliant. That is so. You should be.
I'll try it tonight again.
When are you going to be on HBO, or you need your own special? I mean, all right. I'm just putting that out there.
Okay, that's happening. I can't even get an audition, let alone a good one. Anyway, so we're talking about this because it's frustrating. And look, being a performer, whether it's an actor, whether stand-up comedy, by the way, I mean, there's a lot of comedians. There's a lot of people that identify as comedians. And then there's a lot of people that are good, that are really good, acting, singing, musicians, everything in the performing arts, there's a lot of, it's very, very saturated. And it's not like an accounting job, it's a banking job. It's very different, a very different dynamic. Those always seem to be more fluid and only they're challenging when the whole economy is in bad times. In performing, it's always like we're in a recession, always, because
and a depression too.
It's just hard. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of talented people, and it's right place, right time, all that represents.
And then COVID has further. I used to love going into the casting director's offices. And I'm grateful to be called in and self-tape for them.
Right.
But I'm like my own camera person, we're all like running around so yes, you don't have to commute, but I really miss the personal interaction. I know we can do that online. And I know there are certain auditions in person, but most of them are, online. So it's just, again, and they can see more people that way. So you can like literally be like, you called in 40 people, they couldn't do that usually in calling them into an office. It would be, you need a certain amount of time. Now they can be like, no, it just, right. So anyway, it hasn't gotten easier.
That's interesting. And for people that are not in this world, I just want to explain. So when you are asked to audition, pre-COVID, for the most part, you would go to a casting, either you would go to the casting office, or at least here in New York City, there are these very specific buildings that have sort of like all different offices, all different space and a common area. And you would go to one of those, like the casting director, obviously depending on what their facility is.
You see 20 other people that are your type, or 40 or whatever.
Right. You sign in and you go in, and so they would see you. So what Romy was saying, which is absolutely true, which is how I feel as a stand-up, because I had to do some virtual shows that, although I got paid and I was grateful,
good for you,
it was not the same. And I had to figure out my rhythm with that. But there is nothing like personal interaction. And by the way, this also goes for people that work at an office or a corporate job or different job. Bosses are complaining that they're not getting that connectivity people aren't feeling like in an office when you're in a group, when you're in the finance group or the compliance group. When you're together, you go into a conference room around a table and interaction, looking at somebody in the eye. I mean, it is totally different from what we're doing right now, which I'll explain why I'm doing in a second.
But kind of then these are the virtues of the good things about it are things like this.
Right. Right. I'm doing Zoom. I've said this before on other shows. I was doing my show pre-COVID at the comic strip. They have a podcast studio. I loved doing it. I loved having people come in. Sometimes I would have people call in. I had an engineer there. Now, obviously, I paid for the engineer. I paid for the room. So when COVID happened, and then Zoom became a thing, then I was able to do that and continue on because I didn't want to stop doing the podcast. So this has become good for me for this, and a lot of podcasting and radio, even on TV, you see Ryan and Kelly, sometimes they have somebody, not everybody is coming into the studio. So they've kind of figured out a way as well, because not everybody can be at that place. That's different than when you have a job for X company, Right.
That's the attribute. There are days where I'm like, well, I'm glad I don't have to, get up and get on the.
Well, and also it was like a scheduling thing. So when I had the studio, it was like, can you come at Tuesday at 3:30? And so this is like, hey, especially with this, I'm like, hey, you tell me when you're available and then I'll make it work for you. But I want to just get back to the casting thing. So now what's happening is everybody's self-tape, which was starting to happen before COVID, but now, so yes, it's more efficient, but we don't get to go in there and talk to the casting director, even if it's a, hey, how are you? Sometimes somebody would, I'll get into a conversation about being Greek or, whatever.
Yeah.
There's that little.
I got to know some great casting, some great people. And yeah, some wonderful people.
And the energy.
There's nothing like human interaction in the room, which is why I still love theater, even though it's kind of like almost archaic. But I love film.
Why do you say that?
No, I'm saying it because I do theater and film, and we all do everything, right? Some people have given up on theater because they're like, just film, right? Theater, we don't, but I love both. And theater to me will always be the magic. There will be nothing like that immediate that one moment, and it's happening live.
Right.
It's magic, and it's the most primitive. Like we talk about going back to the hearth and the Roman the
Greeks, right?
The Greeks, yeah.
The plays,
This ain't telling stories at the hearth. It's this fundamentally. It's really important. So telling stories anyway, film, TV, theater, all of it's great. Yeah. I'm just putting in, I don't know where the heck we got in on that.
No. So I agree with you 1,000%. I'm glad to see that Broadway has come back. I mean, that was heartbreaking. And you know what? It's not just New York City. There are so many, in almost every town in America, for the most part, has, whether it's a bigger theater company or like a little space where people do shows, or it is important because it really takes you on in an experience. So
and for young people, oh God, there we go. Young people should go out. No, it's something for them to. It's a real experience that
you can't be on your phone all the time. You can't be on your screen. I mean, you can't.
It's gonna be. We're gonna see some really disconnected. It's worrisome.
It's already happening. Yeah, it's already happening. So I want to talk about, first of all, I want to ask you, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, which is it's the capital of the Confederacy. Beautiful city. They recently knocked down the monuments. There were monuments of these Confederate soldiers on Monument Avenue, and it's really liberating. I went back and I do a solo show, and I went back there at the Firehouse Theater and saw it this summer, and I was amazed to see those monuments gone. But yeah, I'm a girl from the South. Most people are like, what, the South Bronx? because I'm so sort of fit in New York. I never felt like I fit in Virginia.
Well, because you have a very non-distinct accent. You don't have an accent, so I couldn't figure out exactly where you were from.
If I go to Richmond and visit and talk to an old friend, I might say y'all, or something might, how that comes out, like whatever regionalism. But other than that, it's just been, we all sort of pick up little things when we talk to somebody, right? Don't you find yourself doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you moved to New York for work to dreams?
Yeah, I went to I bridged it by going to Philadelphia University of the Arts in Philadelphia for college and majored in theater. And that's a cool city. I really liked that city. And it was a good place. I got my equity card there at the Wilma Theater. And I'll never forget, because my whole that show, I was like, they're giving me my equity card. Oh my God. And it's this New York actors. They were jobbing in to work at this regional theater. And one of my part was mostly, it was this one guy talking. He's the president. It was called The President. It was sort of, and he was from Glengarry Glen Ross, Howard Witt, amazing actor. He's no longer with us. Brilliant. This amazing voice and presence. But my whole shtick was to be sort of the actress and laugh at everything. And then the director put me in sunglasses, and I'm like, and she was, I'm not going to say anything about whatever. I won't say anything about that. And then when he would forget a line, he would look at me and go, "What's my line?" And that was my first equity job. And the review I got was, she made her sunglasses act. I don't know why I got into that story, but that's a pretty good
That's
one. You
funny.
remember things like that, because I was like, oh my God, I'm in sunglasses in my first equity show. And all I have to do is laugh. But I had lines, and that was it was a good character role.
That's great. No, listen, we do all kinds
I'm
of
still laughing.
crazy,
Yeah.
crazy things, and we still do. So it's not, oh, well, it's in the beginning, you pay your dues. It's like, you're always paying your dues.
You're always as good as your last job too.
Yeah.
And you're constantly you're creating and recreating and going full circle with that. I don't know if some of the pressure that we feel, not just as women, but perhaps I think women feel it more, but this society is so interested in where you are on a rung, right? I mean, it's just, and so it's hard for not to permeate our senses. I have to check myself and go, wait a second, I want to keep creating. So I don't just do one thing, which is a problem in that, like, oh, if I were just a playwright, I would be, or if I were just an actor, or if I were just a voiceover artist. But I simply can't. So I have a hard time trying to, keep up with everything I want to do. And I also perhaps don't make the highest incline on any one thing because I'm not just singularly driven, but they all end up somehow feeding into one another. And the success is in yourself as a human being, because you're growing. That sounded like a soapbox speech to me.
I wish I could take a page out of your book. I know, I understand exactly what you're saying. So I have stand-up comedy, acting, I use the term loosely, and podcast hosting, which I love.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And anything else I can, get my hands on. But I also have tremendous FOMO. I admit it. I'm a FOMO junkie. I scroll through social media every day, many times a day.
So who's not aging well? Look at Madonna. Oh my God. That is a good example of what we don't want to do, right?
I'm freaking out. Okay, let's talk about Madonna for a second, since you brought it up. So
I mean, I don't even scroll that much, but I'm just like, it's like watching a train wreck. I can't.
Madonna. Okay, so
I love her.
Yes. So tell me what you think. I'm sorry. Let me just set this up for everybody if you don't know, because it's in news. Like if you read,
is it?
Yeah, like her Instagram posts make the Daily Mail and they make the New York Post.
Okay.
So
okay.
Madonna posts these really crazy videos where she's, in the bustier, and she's got 9 zillion pieces of jewelry on. Sometimes she'll have a grill on. She's shaking her ass. She's kissing another woman. She's humping.
Well, she always did things like that, but
right.
now
she's humping the bathtub.
I don't mind that. I don't mind sex. Like that's not. She's always been about sex, which is cool. And like,
but she's Madonna. But she's like, she's been around a long time. So the question is. I think she's very smart. Like, don't underestimate her. I think she does it to piss people off because she is in her mid-60s. I mean, we all know how old she is. And I think she does it because the more she does it, the more people will be like, oh my God, she's too old to be doing that. She's too old to be doing that. My only thing with her, and I've never seen her in person, so I don't know what's filtered or not. I just feel like, and she was certainly an attractive woman. I don't know what's going on with the face and if those are fillers or it's just so, because that's like my only thing is it's sad. You look, it's your face, you could do whatever you want with it, but at some point it completely defeats the purpose of having that like refreshed look or that little more youthful look, and you look freaky, you look like a freakazoid.
Right. She does have sort of a face like a plate now, like there's no and yeah, again, I'm all for it. Anybody can do whatever they want, right. But it's not for me, like, I'm trying to put my finger on it. I was thinking while you were saying that Madonna's always been about sex, which is great. And about like, F you, let me do what I want with my body. Right. And I'm fine with anybody doing that up to as long as they darn live. But I feel like it's the ugliness of, it's kind of mean spirited what she's doing, this kind of cultural kind of like everything is just really, really like about money and like rap star values that are like contentless. So she's always been smart about, material girl or sexuality, but now it just seems gross. So that's the difference.
Got it.
Where it used to be inspired, cool sexuality, like really smart, and now it's just like, ew. And it takes a lot for me to say that.
I'm not into some of the things that she does are just not interesting to me. I think she's tried to promote some rap artists. I don't like rap personally. So again, I'm not going to be interested. I know she's all about the younger artists. The thing is too, she really, from a musical perspective, which is what she's known for the most part, she hasn't really done anything. And again, there's about a bazillion times more competition now than when she was doing it. And her music was great at that time and all that other kind of stuff. And it was more dancey and it was more fun. She got very dark. She got very deep. A lot of her music now is like very slow moving. I mean, I know Madonna as club dancing Madonna. Like that's the Madonna I like. I like vintage Madonna.
Oh God, that's the best dance album. Borderline. Oh my God, that album is like
the groove.
Whoa.
I mean, they were all great. Yeah.
I mean, even some pretty recently in the last 10 years have been awesome. So, and everybody deserves to like say, F you, I'm going to do what I want. Or I'm not going to create or whatever.
Right.
But I would go to anybody that hasn't seen some of the Instagram stuff recently. It's interesting to see. It's because to me, it's like kind of like watching a train wreck. It's just like, wow. I would like to know. I have thought, Ellen, I've wondered, is she just trying to do another like, I'm recreating myself and this is the new, is she going to come back to something else? But it's kind of feels like different.
It's a bit gratuitous. I agree with you. I'm like, what is the purpose? You are a multi God knows what, billionaire, I'm sure. And out of all of the artists of that time, Michael Jackson, dead. Whitney Houston, dead. Prince, dead. I mean,
I was thinking of Michael Jackson last night. I was thinking, obviously, it's not happy, these things. And I think that's what I read some of people's comments like, hey, look, there's enough kind of shit in this world. Like,
right.
Can you, not that you have to put out beautiful things, you can talk about the truth, but do we really need to just keep perpetuating ugliness? And it also just goes to show, when you mentioned Michael Jackson, and I said, I was showing somebody the Madonna thing last night, and I said, see, it doesn't mean just because you have all that money, you're happy.
Right.
Case in point, Michael Jackson, or it's interesting. So we go back into this, like, here we all are performers wanting success. And at the same time, we see what it can do to people.
Well,
so it's interesting.
I mean, look at some of the performers that just don't make it. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like a Heath Ledger, like a Philip Seymour. These guys were brilliant. I mean, really brilliant. And but they were drug addicts. I mean, James Gandolfini, I mean, I realized he had a heart attack, but he had a huge substance abuse problem that absolutely did damage to his insides.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. And then the guy from Friends just came out with a book about his alcoholism.
He's lucky to be alive.
And drugs. Yeah. He's lucky to be alive.
Yeah. Matthew Perry. So it's interesting. I love that point that you brought up. So people like you and I are striving for that, and here these people have it, and they're miserable. They have to medicate themselves, and
there's lots of stories about people that have won the lotto also.
Yeah.
That end up, and look, hey, nice problems to have. I mean, this is not across the board. This is being very general, but over and over again. And I want to write about this. You read about people that have won the lotto and it's effed up their lives. You don't know who your friends are. There's suicides, there are drug addictions. And it's almost like if you're being given something rather than making it yourself. That's one aspect of it. I went out with a guy who was kind of whatever, you know what, I'm not going to go there. But if I had just been given, how will you ever know if you,
I think too.
I'm not finishing sentences, so how will anybody know?
No. I think I've read a lot of articles too about some of these people. Some of these people have nothing, and then they have so much. And I'm going to say this, and I don't care how it sounds because I'm a comedian, and I'm going to say it anyway. But sometimes people that buy lottery tickets, aren't maybe savory, or they're people that like this is their habit, like because they think they're gonna win, or they're just in a different element, and then they get it, and then they don't know what to do with it. And to their defense, there are people that I'm sure make believe financial advisors, make believe lawyers, that as soon as they find out somebody that won a big pot of money, especially if that didn't have anything, I'm sure prey upon them, because a lot of them have gotten ripped off. So
their own families, they don't know
their own, which is really weird. That's
and
really weird.
So that's.
So everybody wants to know we're happy with the way we are, and we're just going to keep on auditioning on tape.
Obviously, we want many things, and we do strive, and it would be great.
So you said playwright. So what have you been working on? What have you been doing? So I want to go through some of your areas of work. One of them, I know you've been on film, you've been on TV shows. Which shows have you been filming? What's going on with all that?
Recently, I've been going to producers, which is hard for some gosh, for one show. Going to producers is like winning the lotto in itself, because
right.
How many people get submitted by their agents, right? And then how many people get seen for the audition? Very few to get picked. And then just for the same casting director to pick you over and over means you've been doing something right? And then to have them call your agent and say, we're sending her to producers, means it's between you and two other types, whatever. Right. So I've been going to producers a lot recently, which is great. But it's like, what do you tell people? Oh, that's great. People don't know. They don't know when you're like, actually, you don't know how hard that is to have gotten there. They're just like, well, I didn't see you on the show. You're like, hey, you don't know. I know what good signs they are. But I've done, last year I did a manifest. I did in the past, I did a Law and Order, the obligatory Bull. There's one more, couple more. I can't.
You City on a Hill? Did you ever do City on the Hill?
No, that's not on anymore, is it?
No, I don't think so. What about
FBI, and all those folks on those shows, by the way, they're just like the greatest casting director, the nicest people. Lots of people in this business are so nice, and it's just fun to be on the set. Some indie films, and I've been working, before the pandemic, I have a solo show. It's about a silent film star.
Oh, wait, hang on a second. Where was this? Where was that?
Well, God, it's played now. Ellen Karis. It's a whole story in itself. You can see it on my website, but I will say she was one of the first female writer, directors, and producers in Hollywood.
What was her name? I'm sorry. What was her name?
Her name was Alla Nazimova, Nazimova. Damn woman it's been like a raison d'etre. Like, she's really on my shoulder. It's a beautiful show. She was also had a Broadway theater named after her. 37th Street, 39th Street. Walk by. Is there a plaque? No, there's an Irish pub in a parking lot. Why? She was a woman. She was gay. She had the Garden of Allah in Hollywood, 8080 Sunset Boulevard, in the 1920s, all the way through, God, even the 50s. It changed, and they got turned into sort of a boarding house. But in its heyday, it was the party of the literati and the glitterati, from the great writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald to Tallulah Bankhead. I mean, it was wild. I mean, I only wish I could be wish I could be at one of those parties. Talk about wild. We don't even touch it. And her story is so inspiring. It's a rags to riches story. And it's a story that deserves a place. We are the stories we tell. And when things get written out of the history books, or here's where it's going to sound for raw women, but for God's sake, herstory books, why has her story been, why is it not a common name? When you have a Broadway theater named after you, she was making more money. Selznick, she was making something like 300,000 a week. This was in 1916. I mean, it's insane.
She was primarily a theater actress.
She started out as a theater actress, and she inspired Tennessee Williams to become a playwright. Wow. Literally, he said, when I first saw Nazimova perform, it was then I knew I must become a playwright. Noel Coward said she can play that, she can read the damn telephone book if she likes. She inspired Eugene O'Neill. So she was selling out the Broadway theaters so much, lines around the block, that the Schuberts built a Broadway theater named the Nazimova Theater. And she was one of Stanislavski. If anybody doesn't know who Stanislavski is, it's when we hear about the method, it's all derived from Moscow Art Center. Stanislavski taught people about reality and acting. So she was the voice of real acting, of something very real. And she brought that new style to New York and became a hit. Learned English. She was a Jewish Russian immigrant, had to flee the czars. And she learned English in 1 year, 6 months.
Wow.
They said, I'll give you a Broadway contract if you can learn English in 1 year. She learned it in 6 months. The story is beautiful. And the thing that inspires me most in telling the story is when I was reading her journals, is that she ended up as a guest inside her own mansion. She created the first art film, Salome, cast herself at 42 as the 14-year-old Salome. Beautiful Art Deco film. It's one of the greatest LGBTQ films. It's in the canon of history, and lost a lot of money. Put her money into it. It's wild, beautiful, and ended up as a guest inside her own mansion. And still, the way she talks about looking out at the lemon trees, life is what you make of it. That inner resources that she had inspired me. I think it's more than just talking about that fame and that inside thing. She had a unflagging belief, probably a huge ego too, obviously, in herself. So that's her story.
So hang on. So you wrote a play about her?
Yes.
One woman show. And then, so where did you perform it before?
It's been at the Kennedy Center. It's been at 59 East 59, Edinburgh Festival. Oh God, Theater 555, the Cutting Room, Firehouse Theater in Richmond. It's got a couple of gigs coming up.
Okay, so
I mean more, but
where can we see this? Where can we see this?
I'm working on it. So it's a beautiful multimedia show. It's like a live silent film show. I have somebody working on getting it to LA because the Garden of Allah was in LA on 8080 Sunset Boulevard, but it came very close to getting a commercial run, and then COVID hit. And it's just it's a hard business. So I can't only, even though that show is a huge success and deserves to be out there more, I have to devote time to some other pieces that I'm writing. And one of them is about choice.
Choice as in what?
Women and choice. It's changed now since they're trying to take abortion rights away. It's another solo show. It's called, the director and I, we're working on the title. I'm not sure. But it started off with, this is another thing, there is still an unspoken weirdness about women that don't have children. And it's palpable. There's still a little, it's just still a kind of a like, well then, and maybe that's why we feel like, oh, then you have to be famous if you're not having kids. It seems like it would be something that's completely gone. But one of the characters in this piece made her choice to get her tubes tied. It's a true story. And the difficulty, the kinds of like, you don't really want to do that, do you? Whereas if a man wants to get a vasectomy, it's like clip, done here, give him a couple $100, whatever. I'm going on, but to say
No.
that it's an interesting, yeah.
I don't have children. You don't have children. And I've never seen a play or anybody address that in an art form.
I think people are kind of frightened of it.
I think that's brilliant. And everybody's reason for it not happening is there's not just one reason. It's not, a career. It's like a million different things. And I will tell you something that bothers me about it when I hear other women go, well, as a mom, and it's like, I'm not putting you down. I mean, that's great. You're a mother. I have a great admiration for everybody. I mean, I have two sisters, they have kids. I'm in awe of like, as a matter of fact, I just said this not that long ago. I'm like, you know what? I never appreciated how much they have going on. So it's not about, I love my mother, my grandmothers. I mean, it's nothing about that. But sometimes when you're in a conversation with women that have children or, or even one woman, and it's like, sometimes I feel like, and I don't think they mean it, but it's like you wind up feeling inept because you didn't. Well, what do you mean? Like I can, I can figure things out too, just because I'm not a mom.
There's different.
Obviously, I don't know your kid, but
right.
So sometimes like
and it's also interesting because it's like how do you define what is maternal? To me, these pieces that I create are like my children, and there are some women who have kids that aren't maternal at all.
Right.
And there are some very abusive mothers, and there are some wonderful mothers, and there's some great kids, and there are some not so great kids. I mean, it doesn't all have to be like, oh, Madonna, poor, this, that, which going back to Madonna, she's got
she has 6 kids.
Right. And she, I think she's a very good mom from what I do. And I really respect that. I really respect what she does.
She lost her mother at 6, which she's talking about from the beginning at 6.
Yes.
She's named after her mother. It's in a very unusual name. I mean, she has said that a lot of what wound up happening was because she lost her mother. I mean, maybe had she not lost her mother, she wouldn't have gone the way that she did. So, and I do think she is a good mother, even though she does.
Yeah, I do too. On
Instagram. I'm going to tell you, I am an aunt and a godmother.
I'm such a proud aunt. I love it.
And you know what? I can, if my sisters would say the same thing, and I've got, I'm godchildren of my cousins and stuff. I have been a great influence on them.
Yeah.
And just because you're not a mother doesn't mean you can't be motherly.
Thank you. And that you have so much love and to share. Perhaps you have even more because it's not just in one area, but that and I think that the idea of nurturing is something that we all need to identify more with, particularly as our planet. We all need to pay attention to what's going on. I'm not trying to preach or say we need, but look, we are all on the same damn planet, right? And resources are running out, and the carbon footprint of children is not helping it. Look, but also to respect and just try for people to respect and love one another. It's huge in itself to have the propensity to care about people.
You know what party I would like to start, right? We've got the Republicans, we've got the Democrats. They're all shit as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Everybody's out for themselves. And even
politics is politics.
Even when these people, well, politics is Hollywood for ugly people. That's what it is. Okay, sure. I mean, would Chuck Schumer be on TV as an actor with that puss? I mean, no.
Well, what we do have to really make sure that people like, I mean, I don't know how political you want to get and whatever, but you can't let people like DeSantis in or you know what, you might want to, whatever.
No, it's fine. No,
but
yes. I respect it. No, I respect everybody's opinion. And I think you do too. One of the problems is people don't. And it's like, you're an asshole. You're a this.
Yeah. And
Right.
Yeah.
We have to have that. But what I was trying to say was that, because some of these people, they maybe when they start.
I listen to points.
Yeah, they're right. That's what you should do. That's what you should do. But my point is that even when some of these people start out because they want to do something good, the money and the power and the ass kissing, they all wind up jumping into that same.
Yes.
So my point is what I was trying to say was,
and then just trying to get more votes. So
it's we think acting is competitive. I mean, it's like, it's a cesspool. It's disgusting. I would never want to be in politics as much as I'm frustrated with certain things, but I want to start the good people part. Just be a good person.
Yes.
Why is it so difficult to be a person?
Exactly.
Why do you have to take a rock and hit somebody over the head that did nothing to you? Like, I don't understand. Like,
I don't either. And if they're good, people are going to push on the subway. Here's an example. I always think if they're going to push to get on before me, I'm like, you go. If you need to push that hard, you go. Now, because I'm not going to be that.
They're not.
Now they're pushing people onto the tracks.
Like,
yeah, there's a lot of crazies out there.
There's so much anger, and it's just like, I don't understand. We have the most meds. We got therapists. We got this. Why is it everybody's more angry than they were 50 years ago? I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, partly it's the same thing we're talking about. It's all about me. People aren't as accustomed to living altruistically. Also, they're not giving as much money. There are a lot of people that need to be hospitalized and they should not be out on those platforms pushing people onto the tracks. And that's money that needs to go to help situations and people like that.
Right.
They need to be in facilities. And some of those facilities are not places anybody wants to be.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Right. But again,
all the money in New York, we should have a city built.
Yes.
State of the art on the outskirts, someplace, right? Because then it becomes this whole thing, like they want to put it right in the middle of the Upper West Side or something. That's not going to work. A state of the art, doctors, therapists, work. I mean, all the money was there. It's corruption. It's
corruption.
So again,
absolutely. Absolutely. And so then that situation gets worse on its own.
It perpetuates.
But like to your point of what you were saying about being a good person, at least I know in my own, like they can go and push all they want. And I'm not talking about pushing on onto the tracks. No, they can't do that. Right. But if you want to, just as an example, like push onto the subway or spread bad energy, that's one thing I don't want to do. And I walk away from it when I see people doing it. Friends, if people can surprise you, and I don't want a part of that bad energy. I think if there's one thing I can do is at least not pass on. I think it makes a difference because you pass bad energy to somebody, they tend to bring it somewhere else. We have a responsibility to remember to be kind.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know that sounds.
This all started because we talked about not being moms, but I'm looking forward to that. That I think that's a piece that really needs to be written and
a lot of that's
talked about.
Yeah.
Because we're not second-class citizens. We do have influence on children. Everybody again has their own reasons for why it did not happen, and it's not always I hate kids. It's not about
it's at all, and it's not like
so. Yeah. It's a whole. It's just.
And now that choice is mixed up in things,
yeah.
Now that choice has been mixed up politically, there are some characters in the play that are grappling with if they even have a right to choose. Because now the play being about choice, we have to address also if we still have the right to choose. It's important that we talk about that too, because I'm not even going to go down that. It's a different subject, but it's in the same line. It's a different subject.
I think it's very important though, that we have the facts. So not every place is like that. I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's like, as the election was here and watching all these commercials, I was like, okay, that's wrong. No, that's not right. That's not, so I think when we talk about that, if we really want to, get to the bottom of it, I personally am like, why are we still talking about this? Like, why is this a discussion? Like, I'm a very, get out of my business kind of person. Like, I think the government, to me, it's way too big. It's in your face. It's like, I'm not for big government at all. It has its purpose, keeping us safe, the roads, all that. Absolutely, of course. But it's become so, I think, feel very intrusive. And I think this is one of these things. And it's like that, those things should be, they're medical, they're not easy. And as far as the whole teenage pregnancy thing, that's separate and apart from everything else, because we should be educating our teenagers, both men and women, boys and girls, about the repercussions of teenage pregnancy, because we
should be making sure that they understand birth control.
Right, exactly.
I mean, this should not be like, we don't need to go back 50 years.
I know.
I mean, people should just have a choice. That's all. My mom fought very hard for women to have the right to choose, but all people deserve a choice. All people deserve to have their own choice, as long as that choice is not, well, they're saying it. I'm not going there right now. Yeah.
I know it gets very frustrating. It gets very frustrating.
We don't want this to be about that stuff.
No, we want everybody to be a good person. So, so when it comes to certain things, but so you've got these plays that you're writing, so your mind is always going. I mean, I
have a short film that I'm writing based upon a play.
Oh my God.
But see, that's the thing. It's choosing the children. I don't have time to do all of it. I'm also making a living, and I'm grateful. I love narrating audiobooks and my voiceover work. But it's time consuming. So, and I also just want to relax. Sometimes I wish I was one of those people that just wanted to watch TV all night and then wake up and work. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? I know. Being an artist, being driven to want to express yourself is you're constantly like click, click, click. But and
you're also constantly looking for work.
Yes,
I find 75% of my time
is looking for or promoting. Like, I got to promote. I have different people interested in my show, but no, I need to send this person that proposal and that person the email. And I'm like, if we had that press person that we could, that doing all that, it would make a difference. So I interrupted. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So you got your plays. So, and you're writing all these pieces, and you find your time to focus. And
auditioning, like, oh my God, like every day, setting up the lights.
Right. All the technical stuff. So you've got the focus, but let's talk about, because we're starting to run out of time, but the narration work that you do, which is something that I remember when I met you saying, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. And I've done nothing, of course, with it, but I wouldn't even know like where to begin. Although I have to say, SAG always sends all these.
They have great, I know some of the people teaching on it. And but SAG-AFTRA is a good union.
Yeah,
I'm all for SAG-AFTRA. Yay.
I know, I completely agree with you. And it's needed. I'm not, there's a lot of issues with unions and stuff like that, but for actors, you need that. You need some protection, especially when people don't realize you go on these sets, you can get hurt by going to the restroom. Okay. You could step on wire. I mean, it's very,
having those SAG rules in place is important. And the COVID protocol on the sets are important. I've always felt more safe on a set than I do out at a restaurant or something, because of how how they're running it. So like such a well-oiled machine. That's SAG. Anyway, there's
So tell us about your narration. So what exactly, what do you tell people what you do with that? And you have a great voice. I mean,
oh, thank you. Interesting for narration. It's important to have, a voice that isn't going to bother people, but more important. And it depends on if you're doing fiction or nonfiction. So fiction, I guess, would be more important to have just a nice, clear voice. Yeah. But that nonfiction, sorry if I confuse that, but fiction, you need to be able to act a lot of characters. So, do you remember when you used to play with your Barbie dolls and it was like, hi, I'm so again. I feel a little bit like that person. I'm always like, hi, I'm doing. So you're playing all these characters. You don't want to you're not going to, well, a man's not going to play a woman like this, and I'm not going to play a man like this. You find sort of a way to differentiate characters. You have to prep the books. The books take a long time to record. You have to really be able to act. But I would say, as far as your time is concerned, if you're not a fast reader, if you're not somebody who's sort of dexterous with words and different, if you're not somebody that has acting experience, take an acting class or do nonfiction. But it just means you'll spend so much time in the booth if you're not a reader who can write, sort of like, if you get paid by what they call the finished hour, right? So if you get an audiobook and the audiobook is 8 hours listening,
right,
it means the narrator has gone in the booth either with their own engineer, or most people are doing it on their own these days, where you're punch recording yourself. So if you're good, it should come out to be about 2 hours of work for every finished hour, right? So, when you get a publisher sends you a book, how much time you're going to need to devote to each finished hour. But if, let's say, you're not a reader or naturally inclined to words, it's a different thing than voiceovers. Voiceovers, you just say one line, but it's a lot of work also, and you have to be very good and blah, 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 but it's a different thing. This is more of a marathon than a sprint, because you would end up spending 10 hours to every finished hour. It's not worth your time. So when people say, I want to, narrate audiobooks, it's a different skill set than a lot of the other voice things. I've never been great at selling products either. It's like, I'm just not a great thing to sell the agents here. Hey, I'm not great at selling things, but
like commercial. I mean,
yeah. But I also animation I can do, like, characters and this and that.
That's a skill set. I mean, that's a
but it's more akin to audiobooks, to that kind of stuff. I do series. I've been doing 1 or 2 series, one particularly. I think I must be on book number 28. And God. So you get to know the characters, and you really feel, I get to know the authors.
What series is it? What is it?
It's called The Haunting of Danielle. It's a really good series. And I shouldn't just bring up one if I don't bring up other ones that are such good series. I feel bad about that. So the other great authors, but this is like book number 28. The author's wonderful. She even dedicated one of her books to me, and it's a mystery. They call them sort of paranormal, cozy romance mysteries, but it's funny and smart, and every plot, how the heck does she write? Every plot is so different and riveting and interesting, and the characters are so good, and I have so much fun narrating them. And you find out what you're not good at narrating, or what you don't like to narrate as much. I don't like doing the romances so much. Some people, that's their whole shtick, and they have pseudonyms, and I have a pseudonym and I'll do them. But I'm always kind of like, ew. But some people love it. It's a huge market. So I don't know if we should edit that out or what.
No,
But,
I mean, no, that's.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to get cast in one. I don't want to take away, but we all sort of get. I'm really, really good with mystery, and some nonfictions that I do are really cool too. I've been doing a lot of I do a lot of accents, and Nazimova was Russian. I can do a lot of great Eastern European accents, and anyway, there's a lot of other series that I could mention that I'm not thinking of their names.
No, but that I love what you said about how people go, oh, I want to do that. I want to get into that. It was Monday. I actually did some background work for and just like that. And I was walking back after a 15-hour day with somebody that we were at the same, we were SAG. So, we were sitting at the same table and we were part of this group, same group. And we're talking, and I said something about being a stand-up or whatever. I think I said it while we were there in the afternoon. Anyway, so she goes, yeah, I'm going to do I want to do stand-up. And when people tell me that, I get this like, okay, and I don't want to be an asshole. I'm doing this over 20 years. And the way that they say it is so flippant. And I'm like, well, what are you? And she's like, no, I wrote 10 minutes. I've got like 10 or 15 minutes. And so I said, well, then you should go to an open mic,
Right. Or like I would say to somebody else, try reading aloud in your living room. Like you were saying, go to an open mic. And for audiobook narrating, it would be like, all right, try reading aloud in your living. These. Not like, hey, let's go right to the races.
Right. No, so she's talking to me as if like she's about to think that she's going to get some gig, and I was trying to explain to her, I said, you should take a class, take a writing class, because I guarantee the 15 minutes suck. There's no way that it's good. And
it's hard work, what we do, what you do, it doesn't grow on, it's a skill set, and you have to have a passion for it, because that's another thing. Like stand up, great, you want to do it for the first few years, you're going to do your bringer shows, you're going to do this open mic, blah, 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 blah. But after that, when you're really going to get to a point where it's like, okay, I want to get paid for it, I want to be in front of a real audience and not an audience that other comedians brought, or an open mic, it's different. And then there's schlepping. I mean, tonight I'm going to Princeton, and I'm good for you.
And
Princeton,
then tomorrow I'm going to Princeton, and then
right.
You get
That's
on a
great.
plane or, whatever. There's a lot of schlepping. And so I
constantly writing and thinking and
right. So, but I hear you when like this is something that this is your area of expertise, and people are like, oh, I'm going to get into it. It's like,
which I don't discourage, just like you said, but it's
totally.
It's kind of like think about these things and read aloud in the living room, see how comfortable you feel, sort of try taping yourself and seeing how many times before you make a mistake. But you're going to make mistakes.
Right,
but if it's like that, then your time is like, you're in there, you're stuck in your booth forever.
So let me ask you something, a technical question. So let's say, let's say you tell me, so you're doing a book, you're doing one of these haunting series, right? So do you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to narrate page 1 through 20 today?
That's a good question.
Did you take like a section, and then what happens if you're going along and you do flub, you miss whatever,
Mm-hmm.
do you go back, do you edit? Like, how does that work? Or when you submit it, does it have to be like complete smooth sailing, or is there a post where you can correct it? How does that work?
That's a great question. Well, it depends. If you're in your own studio, there's something called punch record. I'm doing this like thing. So it's hard to, it's like, it's easy because I'm not a technical person. So if I can do this, so I might say, Mary had a little lamb, her fleece was, and then I flub up and I say her fleece was, I don't know. Then I've already got it programmed. So it's a playback. It's like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Everybody has a different playback. This is where you punch in. So you would hear, okay, I'm going to go back and punch. Mary had a little, and I keep talking. Does that make sense? So it connects. I'm bad at explaining this. It's a simple thing.
So you make a mistake, you stop,
you stop, you punch
back, And you Mary had a little M, and then you hit record, and then you say the new word.
You've hit the record thing. It does its playback. Mary had a little, and then you go, her fleece was white as snow. Right. So you finish it, and then you keep going. So then you send it to the engineers, the proofer. So then there's a proofer, and this is like getting a report card. Who listens to the whole book. God bless them. I imagine they hear me. They're probably like, I want to kill her. And then any mistakes that you have not found that way, or that you've messed up, because there are going to be moments where you say a wrong word in an 8-hour book, in a 10-hour book, or whatever. They give you your corrections and they send them back to you. And then the engineer plugs them all in. The corrections you do separately. Now, if you're getting too many corrections, you're not going to get hired after a while, right? But there's a reasonable amount. And sometimes there are difficulties beyond your control. And you also have a really good sound in your studio, and be aware of that. And you don't have to spend $1 zillion to have a good studio. That's one thing I tell people. You can listen to if you live in an apartment, listen to the time of day when it's quiet. But as far as time wise, I'm pretty type A as far as like, some people like to, I'm going to punch out, I'm going to get 3 finished hours today, which is like talking. I like to do a schedule where I'm going to know that I hit 1.5 finished hours on Monday, which means that I know that there's about 7 hours left in the book. So the next day I'm going to get 1.5 finished hours. And if I know that I have a show going on or an audition, then I know I'm going to have to go in at a certain time. I try to stay, because I'm doing so many other things, I try to stay on my own schedule, and not my terror would be like, I like to have all my books in on time. This is sounding so boring. I'm so sorry. And I'm going to finish. So my terror is to think, oh my God, I need to get this into the publisher that's hired me. And I have to do 8 hours, finished hours. And and then I'll have to talk all night or something, or all day, or for 24 hours straight. So I don't want to get myself in that situation. But you get sick, things happen. And you might have to say, hey, I'm running a little late, but that's how I try to prevent that. I also try to keep from getting sick. I have to protect my instrument.
Yeah.
And that's really hard during this COVID time. Some people nobody wants to get sick, right? But I don't know if people understand as much. Like, I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to take that chance, because I don't want my instrument to get damaged. I don't want to get late on a deadline.
You got to the job is you showing up and doing what you do.
Yeah.
It is, and there is no substitute, because
there's no substitute. Right. That's exactly right.
Bob can't come in and
Bob can't come in.
He can't do the close for the general ledger. I used to be an accountant, so I make a lot of accounting.
Oh my God. Yeah, an accountant.
Oh, I know. It's great.
I wish I could. That's good with numbers. Good for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd be a lot richer probably.
Yeah. Everything's working out well. All right. Listen, I am so happy.
We can talk.
I know we can.
Wow. It's fun.
So fun.
This was great.
So fun. We should definitely get together. I would love to see you.
Me too. And I'd love to see one of your shows, man.
Come.
Yeah.
Please.
When one is in Manhattan. So crazy. Yeah. All right.
I'm at the comic strip usually once a month. I'm out here in November 17th. So give us all of your social media, your website, where people can find you.
Well, thank you. It's my long name. So Romy Nordlinger, RomyNordlinger.com. That's RomyNordlinger.com. You're going to find all of my stuff, audiobooks, reels, film, stuff about some of my plays. And then with the particular solo show, www.gardenofalla.com. That's GARDENOFALLA.com. Romy Nordlinger on Facebook. Nordlinger Romy on Instagram, because I screwed that one up. I couldn't get my name back. And Romy Nordlinger on Twitter, because there's no other Romy Nordlinger. Who the heck else wants to be that?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Well, I thank you so much. Oh, hang on.
Thank you, Ellen. It was great fun.
Thank you before, and then I'm going to stop
Okay.
it. Listen, thank you, everybody. This was great. Hope you enjoyed listening to Romy and I schmooze. I'm Ellen Karis. As you know, go to my website, ellenkaris.com, for this podcast and all the other ones we've done for 7 seasons. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Greek Chick Comic, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess of Comedy on Facebook. Till next time, bye.